The trade market for running back Brian Robinson Jr. is heating up, and today on the Commanders Report, we're going to be breaking down the latest reporting surrounding which teams are in on a potential Brian Robinson Jr. trade, as well as what Commanders fans can expect in terms of trade compensation in return. Welcome into the show, guys. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Before we get into the content today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button because when and if a Brian Robinson Jr. trade goes down, it sounds like there's quite a bit of interest and it's starting to sound like a trade could happen. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button for our breaking news coverage I'll be putting out on this channel when that news comes down. All right, so let's start here with the new reporting, starting with what Diana Russini from the Athletic had to say today, saying sources, teams making calls in search of running back additions include the Saints, Browns, and Chiefs. So those three teams reported by Russini. And then the People's Insider on X, Ricky, who's been getting a lot of stuff right this offseason, by the way, had this to say. The Dolphins are the front runners to trade for Commanders Brian Robinson Jr. Then he expanded, saying the Niners, Cowboys, and Texans are also interested in trading for Brian Robinson, but the Dolphins are the front runners at this point. All right, so the consolidated list there, guys, of teams that are in the running. The Miami Dolphins are at the top of that list. They are listed as front runners, but then the San Francisco 49ers, Houston Texans, Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland Browns, New Orleans Saints, and Kansas City Chiefs are the teams that have been listed as teams that have either A, been interested in Brian Robinson Jr. specifically, or B, looking for running back help in general. So before we get into each of these teams individually and which ones I think make more sense than the others, predict it for me down there in the comments section. Where will Brian Robinson Jr. be playing football this season? Do you think he'll be playing in Dallas, Miami, San Francisco, somewhere else? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section for today's pinned question. And in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Ethos. And while I'm telling you about Ethos today, get down there in the comments section and let me know where you think B-Rob is going to be playing this year. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Ethos. And guys, the summer before I started here at Chat Sports, my family unfortunately lost my late grandfather. And as you tend to do when you lose someone close to you, you begin to think about your own mortality and what would happen to the people dependent on you if something were to happen. With today's sponsor, Ethos, your family can be protected. I'm getting married soon, guys, and shortly after that, I imagine I'll be buying a house, and following shortly after that, probably start having some kids. If something were to happen to me, I want the last thing the people I love to worry about is being able to pay the bills, so I trust Ethos to keep them protected. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There's no complicated process, and it's 100% online. There's no medical exam required, and you just answer a few health questions and to get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos today. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily to get your free quote today. A big shout out to Ethos for sponsoring today's edition of the Commanders Report. So going over the teams here that have been linked to Brian Robinson Jr., guys, I think Miami does make a lot of sense. They have a lot of injuries in the running back room. Devon Achane is dealing with a little bit of an injury right now, who's slated to be their number one guy. And Robinson is kind of the bigger kind of back that can put his shoulder down, get some extra yardage when, Miami doesn't really have that type of running back, or at least not a good one on their roster right now that is healthy. So Miami, a team that has had some woes running the football, or at least they did last year behind really their crappy offensive line, to be quite frank with you. But Brian has run behind some pretty bad offensive lines in years past, so he knows what that's kind of all about. And I think that he would be a pretty decent fit there in Miami. So definitely one to keep an eye out for here, especially because the People's Insider Ricky specifically linked the Dolphins to B-Rob, so definitely keep your eye out for the Miami Dolphins. But I would also say, guys, the 49ers makes a lot of sense as well. The 49ers are also obviously in the Shanahan tree there, with Kyle Shanahan being their head coach, and Adam Peters obviously has very close-knit relationship with John Lynch, their GM. He worked under him there in San Francisco for multiple seasons before taking the GM job here in Washington. So Brian Robinson Jr. Would fit there in San Francisco. Similarly with San Francisco, because A, they have a lot of injuries in the running back room right now, and then B, the guys that aren't injured have injury concerns, like Christian McCaffrey, who has Achilles tendonitis, and at his age, that is a very scary thing to go through, as a professional athlete, and that unfortunately, that Achilles could get really bad really quickly if things don't go the way he wants to. So to have a guy like Brian Robinson Jr., who is an established veteran at this point, he is a probably mid-level starting running back at this point in his NFL career. He's certainly one of the better running back options that's still out there and gettable on the open market. So with Peters' relationship with Lynch, make sure to keep your guys' eye out for that potential connection. And then when it comes to the Houston Texans, another team in the San Francisco 49ers, kind of Kyle Shanahan tree there with DeMeco Ryans as the head coach there in Houston. I don't think they would be the highest bidder, even though Joe Mixon is out with an injury here and he's going to be out for a little bit. They like Nick Chubb. They like Dameon Pierce. They got some running backs that they do like there in Houston. So I think they might offer like a 7th-round pick, but in terms of the teams that would be willing to be the highest bidder in this race to get Brian Robinson Jr., I'm not sure Houston would be willing to give up those extra draft capital. But then the Dallas Cowboys is a very interesting one to me, guys, because you might be saying at home, but Jack, Dallas is in the division. There's no way the Commanders are going to help out the Cowboys. And usually, I would agree with that sentiment, all right? In-division trades are pretty rare, especially when, one team has a big weakness on their roster at running back, as they got Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders as their top 2 guys. They did draft Jaden Blue out of Texas this year, but not really expecting him to have a breakout season either. That running back room is in shambles right now. So if the Commanders give Dallas Brian Robinson Jr., that's going to help them out. But what I'll say is if you want to juice the most, like the highest draft pick that you can get out of a team, the Cowboys are probably the most desperate, and they would have to pay a premium to get B-Rob, but they might be willing to pay that premium, like a 4th or 5th round pick, like an early day 3 draft pick as opposed to a late day 3 draft pick, which you would probably get from some other team. So Dallas is a team to keep your eye out here for. If you're going to fleece any team in a deal for B-Rob, it's probably going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Then the Cleveland Browns are another team to keep your eye on here, in my opinion, guys, because Quinshon Judkins, their running back, a rookie running back out of Ohio State, has not signed his contract yet, and the Browns are not expected to sign him to a contract until the NFL finishes their investigation into a domestic incident that Judkins was a part of this year or this offseason. And right now they have like Jerome Ford, and they have Dylan Sampson, another rookie, this time out of Tennessee, slated to be their number 1 and number 2 running back. So, Brian Robinson Jr. would easily raise the floor of that running back room there in Cleveland. Probably doesn't turn their season around, but at least they would have a serviceable number 1 back there in Cleveland. So another team to keep your eye out for there. And then when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, kind of similarly to the Houston Texans, not sure if they would want to be the highest bidder here. All right, they just paid a 4th and a 7th round pick for Devon Vele, and I'm not sure if Mickey Loomis is going to want to, cough up the highest draft pick in this competition to get Brian Robinson Jr.'s services. They also still have Alvin Kamara. They also have Kendre Miller, who they like. So not sure the Saints are going to be super in on this potential negotiation. And then we get to the Kansas City Chiefs, kind of similar there. They got Isaiah Pacheco. He's their number 1. I think they're looking more towards running back depth than getting a number 1 guy like some of the other names that we're talking about today. So don't think B-Rob will go to the Chiefs. And, at the end of the day, no matter where B-Rob ends up going, guys, I do expect Adam Peters, the GM here in Washington, to trade B-Rob to the team that gives them the most in terms of compensation. Now, I do think Dallas, if it's going to be the Cowboys, they're going to have to pay a little bit more of a premium, and they're probably going to have to pay an extra round higher than everybody else in the negotiations in order to make that happen. But Peters is going to make the best move possible for this team, and it does sound like there is a market for Brian Robinson Jr., so we could see a trade come down at any point in time. And in terms of what the highest bidder and what that price tag is going to look like, guys, I think it's going to be somewhere in the range of the mid to late day 3 draft pick range. Maybe the highest being a 5th round pick, but it could also be a 6th or a 7th round pick. We'll see if it's some sort of pick swap. That would be a possibility as well. But with the Commanders having limited draft picks next year, I think they would rather just add another pick to their arsenal as opposed to a pick swap. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Commanders can get in return for B-Rob. But at this point, with the limited amount of draft capital you have going into next offseason, pretty much any pick that you can get for him at this point. You're playing with house money because you were going to cut him anyways. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. What round pick do you think Washington will get for Brian Robinson Jr.? Do you think they'll get a 5th round pick, 6th round pick, 7th round pick? Do you think they get something higher than that? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. If I have to guess right now, I would probably guess 6th round pick, but it wouldn't shock me if they could get a 5th from somebody either. All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here. If we get word on a trade from Brian Robinson Jr. or if Terry McLaurin signs a contract extension, if we get any news throughout the day today, we will make sure to get you breaking news coverage right here on the Commanders Report for free. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button to never miss a moment.